From the killer Arc de Triomphe car stunt to your favorite hitman trying some of the most absurd new weapons out there, here's the most challenging skill Keanu Reeves had to learn while filming John Wick. And while there were far too many moments to keep track of, there was a clear winner. He had to learn how to use nunchucks straight from scratch.
It was so much a part of the story, this idea of the traditional and the modern, and this dialogue of, for me, the film has a fabulistic aspect, and for me it's like if we're leaving the tradition.
When Keanu was asked about his most difficult moments on set, the man paused because, let's face it, it was hard to choose one. But he highlighted how he had to wield nunchucks, which he obviously couldn't do without first knowing his way around them. A weapon as destructive as this one carries a high risk, and the film's director, Chad Stahelski, cracked a smile when the actor mentioned it. He clearly knew exactly what Reeves was going to say. The actor went on to remark that it was a brand new ability that, at first, he thought he wasn't good at. And that's exactly why he found himself struggling with it. But of course, things were destined to get complicated with only 2 pieces of wood and a chain. Now it's evident that he was probably underestimating his abilities. There was no way this man wasn't going to ace it. And the way Chad added that he persevered at it after the actor humbly said that he tried his best was proof enough.
Different. No, I mean, I think for me, it's always fun to be, first of all, be a part of a film, and then part of a film you love, and then to have an opening.
Yeah.
So it seems the nunchucks caused quite a ruckus on set, which might make you question, why did they need to go to such lengths? One BTS clip made sure that everybody was anticipating this brand new weapon. The studio blessed all of its fans with a glimpse of its cherished protagonist. And since this was all happening before the release, nobody could handle just how exciting it all was. Let me tell you, nobody was expecting what happened because he looked more lethal than ever before. While carrying the weapon, the film's legendary titular hero was seen returning to combat against a rival. And at the same moment, you could see another enemy just creeping around the corner. I mean, he clearly wasn't expecting the world's most cunning assassin to be waiting for an ambush after all. But Wick was right there, ready to kick some butt as always. There's no stopping this man, especially with his extra special weaponry. You could only pray for anyone who gets in his way. And of course, if you've seen the film, you probably know just how crazy this scene turned out to be. But none of it is as easy as it might seem. Sure, Keanu's pretty much a natural when it comes to performing his own stunts, but keep in mind, he trained 3 whole months to execute it this well. And if you weren't prepared for things to get as wild as they did in this film, the BTS moments would have given you a pretty clear idea. With each new installment of the John Wick franchise, viewers are awestruck by action that's a lot more complex than before. Obviously, the reality that Reeves is ready for all of these stunts helps massively when it comes to hitting that sweet spot. How could they possibly succeed in creating such authenticity without a man as insane and wildly driven as this one? Yet it still doesn't mean that all that stuff comes naturally to him. He also has to constantly work very hard to get every trick absolutely right. And while chatting about it, he remarked that he'd been training for about 12 weeks. Of course, that time included a lot of stuff, including his learning to properly wield the nunchucks. But there was another crazy stunt that took him ages to perfect. Yep, I'm talking about the brilliant Arc de Triomphe car stunt. Now, this is probably one of the best locations they've shown in the entire film. And on a set piece near Paris's historical location, Reeves had to perfect the skill to drive an automobile in the most hazardous way imaginable. Because he's mostly out there recklessly following his enemies, he doesn't have time to worry about safety precautions. He simply just wings it every time. But consider this, he had to drive the car without doors or a windscreen. Not only that, but he had to hold and reload a rifle at the same time. As I mentioned before, this man is always prepared to undertake some of the most outrageous stunts on his own.
You know, there's stuff to take home, so much so that you have right?
And thanks to the stunt coordinator, fans got to learn some pretty astonishing things about how the entire scene went down. He explained how, at one point, the actor grew a touch too skilled with the car, and he mentioned how fascinating it is to watch Keanu's attitude towards his work. And of course, his talent is basically unmatched. This man has perfected virtually everything, whether it's holding a weapon or reloading it in the most compelling way possible. So really, you can't even blame the stunt coordinator for being taken aback, seeing how the actor had to learn a complete 180-degree reverse and drift while multitasking. Some of the technicalities involved forward into reverse 180s and reverse into forward 270s, which had to be a hassle. All I can say is that's not an easy thing to accomplish, even in 3 months. But no matter how hard it was to get on top of, everyone knows just how vital this scene turned out to be in the film.
I didn't know I'd be back here, so it's a nice surprise. You know, I'm excited for the people to see the film.
I'm excited to see it. I love a good revenge tale, particularly in a packed cinema. That's the way to see it, isn't it?
Yeah, if they like it.
Specifically because crazy car scenes are almost a necessary part of the franchise. With this scene in particular, Reeves emphasized how they intended to bring back muscle vehicles for Chapter 4. And with this spectacular decision, they've taken the car driving action to an entirely new level. It's safe to say that the actor was ecstatic about it all, as he stated that not only did he get to drift around in the car in such a regulated, safe atmosphere, but he also got to learn a brand new talent. I mean, how often do you get crazy good opportunities like that? It was clear just by the way they were marketing the picture pre-release that everything's going to be turned up a notch or two, and everyone understood that Chapter 4 was going to be the most action-packed film in the entire franchise to date, and not even just by a little margin. But if you're not convinced yet, there's a lot more to it, since the complex fight scenes weren't any easier to pull off. This time around, there were a ton of fight sequences, and they never intended to keep them a secret even before the film was released. The 3-minute IGN video they released showed much more than anybody had expected, because it showed a sneak peek of Wick in his trademark spontaneous, close-quarters combat. And it included all of the crazy fan-favorite weapons that everybody had been dying to feast their eyes on. Seeing the actor use a large number of guns to fight off his rivals was probably one of the most refreshing sights for fans. After all, isn't that precisely what the actor had promised? Everything from jiu-jitsu to weaponry and cars was there, and Keanu got behind it like a pro. And trust me, this couldn't have been one of the greatest additions to the John Wick franchise without Keanu's tireless efforts. After all, the actor's dedication to his role is invaluable for John Wick's survival. The director had nothing but praises to sing for Reeves, the guy who's ready to perform every stunt possible, no matter how risky or challenging it may be. In a way, he's probably the reason why the film turned out more authentic and believable than ever before.
Oh, that's right. That a question.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You don't remember, huh?
It was, you know, I was 15 years old, so I'm gonna $127.
Well, this was all you needed to know about the toughest skill Keanu had to learn for John Wick 4.